Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast with Michael LaFido, where top luxury agents reveal their best practices, plus interviews with real estate industry influencers, thought leaders, and luxury marketing experts. You'll come away from each episode with new strategies and tactics to dominate high-end homes in any market. And now for the latest episode of Luxury Listing Specialist. Here's your host, luxury real estate expert, coach, and trainer, Michael LaFido.
Welcome back to another episode of Luxury Specialist. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. You're in for a treat if you're a homeowner or a real estate agent, team leader, broker owner, and you're looking for ways to differentiate your properties that you represent, your listings, from the competitors. I believe that is one of the essential responsibilities of a marketing agent, or per se the listing agent, is to differentiate your properties from the competition. You know, as we're filming this in many parts of the country, there's a shortage of inventory, but I do believe that some sellers and some agents are leaving thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table for high-end and unique properties because they are literally hitting the easy button and they are just going to market with the way the house looks, as opposed to positioning it, taking the time, because you have one time to make a first impression. So you're in for a treat today. I have a special guest, but before I bring her on, just a reminder, if you have any questions whatsoever during this show, you can shoot me an email. Best way to send me an email is just michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, michael@marketingluxurygroup. You see it on the screen, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. And for those of you that are watching our live stream, literally, you can just type in your comments in the comment section. You can type in your questions in the comment section, whether you're watching this on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. Just go ahead and type in your questions in the comment section. You know, I speak across the world, speak at a lot of different events, work with a lot of top luxury agents, and I'm very honored to have what I think, and very lucky to have what I think is the best stager in the business, and she happens to be in my backyard, and I happen to work with her. Matter of fact, two of our last big $2 million plus stage properties, the buyers end up buying the stage furniture, right? We call that turnkey. We didn't advertise it for sale, but they loved the job she did, where they end up buying the actual furniture part of the deal. So from that standpoint, many buyers are looking for the easy button, and they don't want to take the time to go shop and recreate the scene of the area rug and the couch and the sofa and the artwork. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about staging homes, positioning homes. Again, go ahead and type in your question in the comment section if you're watching this. But before we do that, I got to give you a little background on this property. I have been marketing this property. It's a little misleading because it was under contract for over 2 years. I won't go into how it was under contract over 2 years. I could do a whole separate episode on that. But so the market time is a little misleading. But technically speaking, I've been trying to market this home for sale and have been marketing it since February of 2017. So literally, it was on the market with me technically for 6.5 years. We were under contract for about 2.5, so 4 years of real true market time. Took 4 years to market. Michael Jordan's home has been on for over 10 years. Okay, so the Chicagoland market, particularly above $2.5 million, although it's been stronger over the COVID last 2 to 3 years since 2020, it still is no Naples. It's still no Hamptons compared to some of the stronger markets. We have a lot of wealth leaving the state because of taxes, corruption, and regulations. But that's a whole nother episode. We could cover that as well. So today I want to just give you that background. So this property had been on for a long time. My clients are a little bit older, 80 and 78, and the person that was going to buy the home, we canceled the deal, and they moved out. And so we tested the market for a few months with it empty, neutral, but empty. And we had a lot of showing some interest. We did a lot of open houses there, but no offers. So I challenged and suggested to my sellers, hey, we really, excuse me, we really ought to think about staging this home. And we'll retake photos, rephotograph the home, and I think it will be more neutral and appeal to a larger pool of buyers. And they agreed to at least get the proposal, and they were hesitant. They wanted to wait till spring because homes don't sell in their mind in November, December, January, and February. It's too cold. Let's wait till the spring. And I reminded them, you only have one time for a first impression. And what if that buyer is looking in November and they find another home because your home isn't staged? So they agreed to stage it. And guess what? We actually, the first person who saw it post staging bought it. They actually saw it the morning of the staging. We staged it on a Wednesday, and the buyer didn't have any flexibility. So they said 10 a.m. for the showing, and the stager was showing up around 11:30, and they couldn't move the showing back later in the day, even though I tried. So they saw it empty. They seemed to like it. I said, hey, come back on Thursday afternoon or Friday. And sure enough, they came back on Friday and they put an offer in a few days later. So that's the background. And I want to bring in the magician herself, Margaret Gehr from Chicagoland Home Staging. Margaret, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. How you doing?
Thank you. This looks like one of your staging jobs behind me. You got beautiful artwork. You got nice greenery there. We got a nice lamp. This looks like what you do with some of the properties we represent and that you've staged. So thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us today on Luxury Specialist. And as I mentioned, our listeners are in for a treat if you want to hear from one of the best stagers in the industry. And Margaret, a lot of times we kid around off camera and you say that I like attracting those difficult and unique properties. I feel like I have a track record, almost like as a kid, when someone puts a kick me sign on the back and people are like, why is everybody kicking me? I feel like sometimes I have a sign on me that says, if you're difficult, if you are unique, if you are custom, taste specific, give the Michael LaFido and the Lux Group a call. We can get it sold. And I do, prove them wrong. I do have a big motto that we like to sell other properties that other agents fail at. But 4 years of market time on that bad boy, and you helped us. So thank you so much. Tell everybody a little bit about how long you've been staging homes, and then we'll kind of get into your philosophy and what you, how you assess a property and what your goal is. I'm sure it's a case by case scenario. Every house is different, but tell everybody a little bit about you, how long you've been staging, and we'll get right into things.
Well, thank you very much. That was a really nice introduction. And I have been in the staging industry for going on almost 20 years. So we're about 19 right now. In 2024, we'll hit 20. It's been a long road, right? So things have really changed in the last 20 years, especially in regards to staging and marketing and how you package a home. So currently, we are based out of Naperville, Illinois, and we have a 15,000 square foot space that we keep all of our furniture and accessories and such in. We have 14 employees, 3 trucks. And so we've really developed it over time, and it's really moved into the luxury market probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We've really moved into the luxury market.
Well, I have one of the things that we teach agents across the country, and I think you call it a lookbook. I call it something else, but I call it our before and after case studies. So we've created hardbound books, I call them before and after books. And one of the properties that you've staged in here was the Villa Taj, okay, the Taj Mahal in Burr Ridge, right? I had to rebrand the name, right? This house was a stigmatized property, took on millions of gallons of water. It was known as the Villa Taj. Other agents laughed that I took on this assignment, this challenge, if you will. And you did a terrific job of staging that property. We rebranded it towards the Palace Royale. But bottom line is, you will stage cute and small. You don't just do the mansions. We have you work a bunch of our properties, but I look at a home when I go to market a home, is every home is different. I don't have a one size fits all marketing plan, right? So I look at it as a bespoke. Every property is different. What are the strengths of a home? What are the weaknesses? What do I want to accentuate? What do I want to downplay? Location wise, what are the amenities, etc. Tell me a little bit about what you look at as a stager when you show up to a property, whether it be myself or another top luxury agent, and you're seeing it for the first time. Are you collaborating with the agent saying, hey, what do you think? Here's what I think. Are you assessing it first and sharing that assessment? Talk to me a little bit about the philosophy of a top stager when you're assessing a property.
Well, I do really believe in being collaborative. I believe that we do work together, and every agent that we work with, including you, have a process that you go through. When I enter a home, I'm not wowed by these multi-million dollar properties. My job is to figure out what's the best features, the positives, and what are the negatives. Where are the objections in the home? How do I turn a 40-minute showing into a 2-hour showing? So where do we create start points, stop points? We're kind of like, I would have to say, the secret sauce in many agents' toolboxes. So when I'm going there, I'm just really taking in the house as a buyer would, and I'm finding key points where I can improve. So it's really all about I think of how we package it. So I'm thinking about packaging, and then that can include many things, the package.
So you brought up a good point. So you look at it, you're not overly wowed or impressed. That reminds me, I have one of our co-authors for our next book coming out called Secrets of Top Luxury Agents, Terry Sprague. Terry is out of the West Coast. He runs Lux Properties. He's a Forbes Global Property Agent. You see a picture of Terry on your screen right now. Terry does some of the best lifestyle videos of anybody in the industry, but he shares a story on how he lost a listing once, which later they did hire him and he got it sold. And they said, well, we didn't think you liked our home, because he was looking at it from a doctor perspective, right? When you go into a doctor, they're prescribing what needs to be done. They're not telling you how good you look and how this is great. They're there to solve a problem. And so I look at you the same way, and I'm the same way. And sometimes you have agents on either end of the perspective. They're too busy to somebody, and they're not prescribing the medicine. Or you have some people like Terry initially, when he went into the industry, he was like that doctor, and he was so focused on the end result, he didn't build up much rapport. And so he decided, you know what, I have to, reflecting on myself, if I were to be in competition against myself, what would be one thing somebody would say that I could do a better job? And that would be, letting the owner know how excited you are, letting the owner know of their special features and what's unique about the home. And then after you've built their rapport, letting them know what are some things to help get them through the finish line. And would you agree with that assessment, that you got to be a little bit careful when you're meeting with the owner? You want to build the rapport versus going right into, hey, you got to do this, this, and this, or hey, you don't care, you go right into it.
No, I'd say I care. No, I want it to be a good experience for the seller. So, and there is not one size fits all. So this is a customized plan. Sometimes the most obvious thing would do the trick, but they're not willing to invest the time, money, or whatever. So you have to go to plan B and then plan C. You have to find a spot where the seller is comfortable, and then, in my opinion, that I feel good about recommending, that's going to offer some results. So you can get to a point where you're not doing enough to have any results, and then at that point, I might share that with you too. So it really just depends on different things with the seller, and what the goals are, timing. There are a lot of variables.
Yeah, so there are a lot of variables, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, right now, you and I are in discussions with the homeowner. This property is very unique. It's almost a historical home. Got a really funky floor plan, if you will, and they're already trying to pull things out of your staging proposal, and you've tactfully let them know that in the big grand scheme of things, it's not going to do much to save them money, but it will hurt the overall positioning of a home, because it's so unique that I like to say a confused mind won't buy. So if you go to a store, if there's an online ad, and it's not simple, keep it simple, stupid. If it's not simple, the confused mind won't buy. When somebody's looking at a home, and I'm showing a property actually tomorrow for a second time. It's 1.9 million. You know the property in Wheaton that hopefully they're going to hire you. I'm showing it to a buyer before it's staged, and they saw it in the evening. They want to come back during the day, but it's got such a unique floor plan. It's got such custom and personalized furniture that's what you do. You unpersonalize it, and then you also, I believe, you do such a great job of knowing what the focal points of each room are. And then you build the room, you build your furniture layout and design and area rugs and artwork around the focal point, so that the touring of the home and the touring and the flow of each room, they're drawn to the best features. Is that would you say the positioning of the furniture and is maybe just as important as the actual updated style of furniture, where you actually place it? Or would you say placement's not as important as the actual furniture itself?
Placement is probably more important than the furniture. Scale is really important for these big homes. But no, you create stop points, lanes to view, things to gaze at. So it's a start stop. It's like, I call it the yellow brick road. So the yellow brick road just leads you along there. You're not consciously thinking about where you're going. You're just following the road. It, tells you where to fork, where to turn, where to stop, so that's exactly what we're doing. So we're using part science, part art. So the science part is really the placement, the design, creating an environment that has a lot of psychology involved in it, ownership, and then the art is really, placing the thing. So you need to have that art that tells you what looks good, what's going to photograph well, how are you going to get good marketing photos.
Yeah, no, that's great point. I want to, let's get right into this particular property, which I think will lead to some additional questions. So this property, I'm going to share with you the before pictures right now. So this is how the home looked when we had it on the market a few months ago, before they decide to stage with Margaret. So again, the home was built in 2006, 2007, a very Tuscan exterior, very Tuscan specific. But on the inside, right, you had this real heavy slate kitchen floor, very heavy, dark cabinets. So let me go through some. These are the before pictures. Take a look at how rooms are vacant. In this case, you have really big bar stools. So these are some of the before. This is a hearth room right off of the kitchen area. Lower level, little kitchen. So we let me get right more into some of the family room pictures here. I'm going through these kind of quick. Let me pull up the family room pictures, and let me see here. So this is the exterior of the home, as I was mentioning. So if I were to these photos were taken in February, March. If I were meeting with a homeowner in September, some of the things I would be telling them would be power wash the hardscape, get some of this discoloration here. You got some green moss here, right? So first impressions are really important. Matter of fact, that property that you and I are hopefully going to be working on here in South Wheaton, I just had them do tons of power washing, tons of exterior maintenance, because here in the Midwest, here we are filming this. It's December. It's 50 degrees today, which is great, but that's rare. It probably won't get to 50 degrees consistently till April again. So they have 4.5, 5 months before they can address those exteriors. So being proactive versus reactive is really important. So this house had a cool indoor pool, had a nice family room. Here's the upstairs of the library. So I didn't even showcase too much of the family room, unfortunately, because it was vacant. So these are the afters. So entryway, the foyer, right when you walk in, you have some beautiful millwork, and you did a nice job of just contrasting some colors a little bit, almost modernizing it. Talk to me about, as I'm showing some of these, what was going through your mind, if this is just kind of standard or no. In this instance, Mike, we really wanted to focus on something.
I mean, this house, I wanted to do a little bit more painting. I really wanted to lighten it up. It was a very dark house. So one of the things we'll look at is what's happening in this price point and other real estate. So what are new builders building today? And it wasn't this. So even though it was amazing, and even though it is, got fabulous features, it isn't what their biggest buyer pool is looking for. So we tried to bring in a more modern top layer that still felt at home in this house. And then we used very light. So we were trying to add lamps, we were trying to add light carpets, we were trying to turn your eye to something else besides all of the millwork. Honestly, it was almost overwhelming. And so we just tried to show.
We wanted them to paint this room. Remember, we wanted them to paint these this drywall areas in between the millwork. So it would be all kind of uniform, almost like the foyer. We wanted them to kind of go with this look, didn't we?
Yeah.
And they, because that's what you do see some of this in new construction today, correct?
Right. Yeah.
And so they objected. The other thing they objected, which we finally got them on board, and that's part of what a good marketer's job is, to explain and articulate, give your clients options so they know the pros and the cons. So our painter painted this house. And this, if you recall, these sellers did not want you to hang any artwork on their freshly painted walls. And so I went to the painter and I said, tell me what you would charge to repair any holes from the artwork, because I'll pay for it out of my own pocket if it doesn't sell. So I went back to the sellers and said, listen, you have nothing to worry about, because they were thinking worst case scenario. They've been trying to sell for a long time. What if we decide to stage it for 3 to 5, 6 months? It becomes too expensive and we took the staging out and now there's holes in the walls. What do we do then? So I alleviated that concern and said, I talked to my painter, I'll pay him directly, we'll touch up those areas. And they agreed. In your opinion, the artwork that hangs from the walls is much more effective than if you lean it against the wall, correct?
Correct. That's really more of a photo styling. So even though this house has nice photos, it really was, you felt the difference in the house. I mean, it was an amazing transformation.
All right. So here we have the family room, which, through those windows, down a level is the indoor pool, which is very unique. But in this room, again, same thing. We wanted them to paint ideally this wall here, so everything was all uniform in color and not checkerboard, but they declined. So sometimes you get pushback, right? And so you're going to make a list of suggestions, and a seller's probability of selling faster for more money is much higher when they do more things than it is when they do less. And I tell them that, hey, if Margaret gives you 23 things and you do 18, you're going to be better off than if you only did 13. You're not as good if you did all 23, but pick and choose, right? And so sometimes you get sellers, not just my clients, but other agents, that really push back on some things, right? They're offended, or they love certain things, right? They're in love with their home and control. They're afraid of giving up their style and their look. Or maybe they have guests over and they say, oh, it was better with your stuff. Or what? Do you deal with that sometimes?
We do, and we don't stage to stage. So we really are looking for the plan that's going to best help the seller. So, like, for example, when we recommended painting that wall and all that, those little boxes, when they declined that was not a direction they wanted to go, then I had to come up with plan B. So plan B makes the staging even more important. So really, it's just what your eye sees. So when you went into this big room, when it was empty, your eye just went everywhere. It couldn't focus on anything. The room was huge, and you just couldn't envision yourself living there. So the furniture made it comfortable. It put everyone at ease. They could walk in. They could take the room in slowly. You didn't notice some of the dated features like the lighting and things like that, or you just made it so it was more that they could do it on their own timeline, or, they, made it easier. So remove some of the overwhelming.
Well, this home showed dark, not just because of the floors, but the millwork, the paint. We didn't even have a chance to do that, but you and I have worked together long enough where we know that the natural daylight light bulbs make a huge difference, replacing the yellow can lights, etc. So that's something you can do. I recently changed out 50 light bulbs on a property that we represent. So one thing I love that you do is you bring in real lamps that are functional and they're plugged in. So this room was dark. So, for showings, we turned on Of course, the lamps. You also bring in accessories for bookshelves just to kind of soften it up a little bit. And here's that family room from a different angle, and you can see the front door there. And you tend to bring in some pretty neutral, earth tone area rugs. Not a lot of designs, right? Because you're trying to simplify.
Not overpower. We want to complement. I always call our staging quiet, so it's still appropriate for the price point, but we don't want to overtake all that's going on in the house. Our job isn't to decorate; it's to complement.
Good. Just a reminder, if you're getting value from this episode or previous episodes, leave us a like, leave us a review. Our guests are donating their time, and we appreciate your time, Margaret, and your expertise, as well as all of our previous guests. This is episode 270. You're listening to episode 270 of the Luxury Specialist podcast. All right, let's go on a little bit. So here's the office. It was a gorgeous office. I mean, millwork, but a lot of millwork, right? So especially when it was vacant. Now, they did have a desk in there, but you brought in the area rug. You brought in a different chair. You brought in some, as you can see from the bookshelves, just some greenery, some backdrops, and it had a nice little sitting room off of the office as well. So you brought in the area rug, the chairs, the Louis Vuitton book, the Paris book, the artwork. So what was your goal with these two areas?
It was pretty much the same. Try to lighten it up, make it feel real. I walked in this room and I was overwhelmed. So if I walk in and I'm overwhelmed by having, enough room for 4,000 books. So not everybody has 4,000 books. So how can we make this work for, the most likely buyer today? I mean, I can't stress enough how important it is to have a stager on your team, because we really, our sole goal is to make it work for you. Our goal is to help you sell it. And if you're successful, your seller is successful, and we're kind of behind the scenes. We're like the secret sauce. So so I would say that not all stagers can do this, but you need, some can. So you need to make sure that you align with one that really knows your market, can work in the market you're in.
Yeah, that's a great point. One guest says, great information. Thank you. So thanks for tuning in. All right. So now we're looking at the kitchen. So you brought in, again, ideally there, you could bring in some area rugs, but because of the width of the walkways, you don't want to have a bunch of runners and everything else. So you decided to bring in lower stools, solid color stools, and then you you hung some artwork. You brought in, some other pictures as well, and some cookbooks and that kind of stuff. And then here you have the breakfast area off the kitchen. Same thing, an area rug, circular table, some pillows. Then you have the hearth room. Again, same thing. Lamps. It was a dark room. You brought in a floor 6-foot lamp as well as a coffee table lamp. So and then we have the dining room. So would you agree, you and I have talked offline, but you primarily will stage the main floor and then the primary bedroom. That's at the very minimum what you usually suggest, correct?
Correct. It's usually where the buying decision is made. So we concentrate on what makes a buyer say yes and what areas they don't care about.
Okay, so here's the primary bedroom. You brought in literally the bed, the area rug, the chairs, the little basket with little accessories. You brought in some pillows. And then I'm going to fast forward and then we'll get back into some things. And then you also stage the lower level. So again, depending on where our listeners are, we have basements here in the Midwest, and many times they're an extension of the house. So in this case, you stage the lower level, you stage Villetage, or the big one before. Typically, you don't do that. Do you typically ask the real estate agent, hey, what do you think about the lower level? Or are you typically going to the agent saying, I don't know what their budget is, but it's such a big home, we recommend this as well, or both?
Well, I think a lot of that will depend on the agent. But you like basements done, it really, these lower levels really support the number, they support the listing price. So a lot of times having the lower level staged and all tricked out, really can push someone over the edge. If I feel like your days on market based on our research and our data is the same, I'll share that too. So if budget becomes an issue, we'll eliminate some rooms that still give us good days on market after staged. Funny that I don't generally care when we stage a house. I don't care what the days are on market before we stage. Our data is the same, whether it's been on the market for 2 years or coming on clean first time.
That's great. And you have what's called a lookbook. So for those of you that are watching, if they're interviewing stagers, they don't know what to look for, what to ask. What are some things would you recommend to our listeners when maybe they have some choices in stagers? What would be one or two key things they should think about, they should factor in when deciding which stager is best for their recommendation? Because you're a reflection on me, good, bad, just like my painter is, my electrician. You do a terrible job. You don't follow up. Whatever it might be is a negative mark on me, as well as when you do a great job, which you do, it's a positive review on me. So tell me, what should they look for in a stager?
I would probably, one of the first things I would ask is, what is their average price point that they work in? So like us, I know that our average listing is 1.2 million. So if your average house that you're listing is, $1 million and your stager works mainly in 4 to 8, then you might need to beware, because there's a whole set of different rules there. So that would be the first thing. I would look at photos. I have found that all stagers, some real estate agents as well, say the same words, right? So you go to meet a client and it's like they're reading from a script and they're the same words. So you need to back up those words with photos, testimonials, referrals. So you need to differentiate yourself between everyone else. So for sitting where I am and watching, working in the real estate world, and including the stagers. So I might go somewhere and I know that stager could never, ever do what we're doing for any price. So I do an experience. So experience in the luxury market really makes a difference. You need someone with experience. You need someone insured. You need to make sure that if something happens, they have workman's comp. Are they independent contractors or are they employees? Because if you hire an independent contractor, or if I hire an independent contractor and we go and work in one of your homes and something happens, they actually open the door to that independent contractor suing your homeowner, suing you, suing me. So if something happens and they get hurt on a job. So it's really important that they are W-2 employees, that they have coverage or workman's comp coverage. So when anybody comes into our home, we have to think about these things. And I've been around long enough to know that, stuff happens.
Yeah.
So even to the best. So those are a few of the things, but it's very visual. So staging is very visual.
Well, Margaret, I really appreciate your time. Again, my stager, I think the best in the industry. Some really great nuggets you shared today for our listeners, whether you're a newer agent, you're a seasoned veteran, you're a broker owner, team leader. Margaret, and where can somebody find out more information about your company? What's your website?
It's Chicagoland Home Staging. So in this market, we call it Chicagoland because we're like the suburbs around Chicago, right? So it's Chicagoland Home Staging. You can find us on our website there or on Instagram. So Instagram will give you a good idea of what we do too. So a lot of our photos are there. It's all our work that's on there. So.
And ChicagolandHomestaging.com, correct?
Yep.
You see it on the screen right there, ChicagolandHomestaging.com. For more information, to get some ideas. If you're watching in Nashville, you're watching somewhere else, you can go to the website as well and just literally, ask questions or share with your stager in Nashville or wherever you're listening, and they can get some ideas. Margaret, thank you so much. We'll be in touch, and I really appreciate all that you do for me and for the industry.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. All right, so guys, that was Margaret. She is literally the best of the best. And just a reminder, those of you that are watching, you need to create your own before and after, your own case studies. Again, so when I go on appointments, I'm not the bad guy. I'm showing them results. Again, they're interviewing me because they want results, right? They're not interviewing me. They don't go to that surgeon, that doctor, that specialist to be told how good they are. They go to that specialist, say, here's what you need to do to get that ankle back to where it needs to be, or get that knee so that we don't have the inflammation anymore. Okay, so that's why they're specialists. You need to think, that's why our course, our designation, we teach agents across the world. We're not luxury generalists, we're luxury specialists. We're marketing specialists. Don't think like a real estate agent. Think like a marketer. There's a calculated difference. So again, always think about ways that you can document as well. So, on the screen, you're going to see here in a minute, we are putting together our own before and after of this 831 Diane, just like I know Margaret will. Margaret will leverage this. This is going to be a great opportunity for her. This house has been on for years. Okay, it was on since 2015, technically, so 8 years, even if it was under contract for over 2, call it 6 years. And the first buyer that came through after it was staged ended up writing an offer. And so you want to create your own before and afters. You can do them on Word docs, you can do them on PDFs, but you want to create your own before and afters. That's a difference. You have testimonials and you have case studies. You need to have both. You need to have 5-star Google reviews, because again, the number one question, I had undercover billionaire Glenn Stearns on. We have our next book coming out called Secrets of Top Luxury Agents. I got to show you this. Our next book coming out called Secrets of Top Luxury Agents. And I have 2 billionaires in the book. And one of the billionaires who wrote the foreword to my book is Glenn Stearns from Undercover Billionaire. Literally, if you haven't seen it, it's on Discovery Channel. Undercover Billionaire, Glenn Stearns. We have icons in this book. I'm so excited. Julie Foppel, Elena Cardone. I got Jack Cotton. He's like, I think the godfather of luxury real estate out of Cape Cod. He's amazing. And we have some amazing agents, and we have some future luxury specialists in there. It's literally, I'm biased, but I do believe it's going to be a bestseller. But the number one question that Glenn Stearns, because he's bought properties in secondary homes, vacation homes. The number one question, he agreed with me, and I asked him if this is the number one question he asked himself when he's deciding on which agent is best to represent him, to help him find something, is, can I trust you? That is what the consumer is asking themselves. Can I trust you? And so if you have case studies after case studies, you have testimonials, you have reviews, you put educational videos out there, you have a higher probability that they'll trust you. Again, my name is Michael LaFido. If you have questions, please send me an email. Again, my email is on the screen. It's simply michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. And if you're getting value from this episode, please leave us a like, leave us a review, let another colleague know about it. Until next time, my name is Michael LaFido. Prove others wrong. Take care, everybody.